The walls of that house had always been a kind of silent witness, not a neutral witness, but an accomplice. An accomplice to the pain, the fear, the silences I learned to swallow like cold water in the middle of the night. And on my last night there, they felt more alive than ever. When I came back from the kitchen into the living room, I sensed that something in the air had changed, as if the space itself were trying to stop me from moving forward, not with violence, but with memory. The memory that hurt, the memory that weighed me down, the memory that kept me trapped long before I realized I was living inside a prison. I looked at the wall beside the couch. That stain in the corner, an undefined color somewhere between. Yellow and rust had been there since the first week I moved in. He said he would fix it. He never did. And I never had the courage to ask again. The stain always seemed to grow, to spread, as if it were a mirror of my own deterioration. But that night, it looked smaller. Or maybe I had finally stopped looking at it as if it were my fault. I touched the cold, peeling paint with my fingertips. The rough texture lightly scratched my skin, and a shiver ran up my arm to my shoulder, not from fear, but from recognition. That wall had seen me shrink, seen me tremble, seen me wither, seen me try to convince myself that I deserved that place, that life, that weight, and now it saw me standing. The house cracked again, this time louder. A hollow sound from the ceiling, as if something had given way above. I took a deep breath. I knew that sound well. It was the same sound that came every time he slammed the bedroom door hard enough to make the entire structure shake. It was incredible how the house absorbed everything. It absorbed anger. It absorbed tension. It even absorbed the silence that came after the storm. But that night, it felt as if the house were giving everything back. As if it wanted to return, one by one, all the pieces of me that had been scattered inside it. I crossed the living room with slow steps. I passed the cabinet where the picture frames were kept. Most of them were empty because he always removed the photos where I appeared looking unhappy, as if unhappiness were my flaw and not his effect. One frame was face down. I knew which one it was. I knew exactly which photo was there, the last one where I was truly smiling before everything began to collapse. I touched the frame and slowly turned it over. There I was, with a smile that seemed to belong to another woman. A woman who believed in love before learning the cost of loving the wrong way. My chest tightened, but not in a way that knocked me down. It was a tightening that woke me up. There is a kind of pain that doesn't destroy. There is a pain that reveals. And that photo was revelation. I placed the frame back where it belonged, no longer face down. And in that moment, I realized the walls that had watched me suffer were now watching me rise. I continued walking through the house. I passed the bathroom door, a door that knew my muffled sobs far too well. How many times had I locked myself in there to cry without him noticing? How many times had I stood at the sink, staring at myself in the mirror, asking when I had stopped being who I was? I opened the door slowly. The bathroom was lit only by the hallway light. The mirror reflected me with a glow I had never seen there before. There were marks of time, of exhaustion, of struggle, but there was also something new, presence. A kind of inner sun that had never been allowed to rise in that place. I stepped closer and touched the cold edge of the sink. And in that moment, I felt something I had never felt in that house before. I was no longer afraid of myself. I heard another noise farther away coming from the bedroom. I looked back, but I didn't return. That was the difference. The greatest difference of my life. I didn't go back. The house could creak, could call, could try to remind me of who I had been, but it no longer had the power to pull me back. I crossed the hallway again, this time more firmly. It felt as if each step left new marks on the floor, marks not of pain, but of farewell. And the more I walked, the more I understood something essential. What trapped me was not the house. It never was. It was who I was inside it. And that version of me was dying right there, that very night. Without screaming, without drama, without spectacle. Simply dying so that I could live. I returned to the living room and stopped at its very center, where so many times I had felt the ground disappear beneath my feet. But that night, I felt my feet like never before. I was there, whole, alive, ready. The walls still weighed on me, of course they did. But it was a weight I could carry because it no longer belonged to me. It was the weight of a place that had been part of my story, but would never again be part of my future. And I knew it. I was only a few steps away from leaving all of that behind. The last night in that house was just beginning. And I was finally closing a cycle that had once felt endless. If this story resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and stay with us on this journey of courage and liberation. And be sure to watch the next video in the next section or the next series, where this final night continues and the path forward becomes even clearer.